Hello and welcome along to TGP Has a Podcast. I hope you all enjoyed our week off after the fantastic episode that we had with Chris Thurgood a couple of weeks ago now, in which we got to find out a lot about Chris's methods of winning titles, which I'm sure has gone down very well with some other people in the series, if they've listened to it, that is. This week, it's the turn of Paul McGinnes. Now, Paul has been a mainstay in TGP series for a long old time, competing in multiple different disciplines and being successful in TGP2. He also raced in TGP1 as well as many other disciplines within the series, as we mentioned. Paul has since become someone quite famous on Twitter, or X as I should now say, and is regularly posting content of Formula One, in which he's had quite the following from a few famous faces. Let's see what Paul has to say about the series. Here he is. So, Paul, welcome along to TGP Has a Podcast. Thank you ever so much for joining me. We're recording this actually between that difficult period between Christmas and New Year. So I guess I should ask you first of all, really, did you have a nice Christmas?
Yeah, hello, Mike. It's good to be here. Yeah, I had a very good Christmas, thank you. Didn't really do very much. A lot of headaches after a few parties, but yeah, no, it was
I'd
good.
be
How was
concerned if
yours?
there wasn't any headaches after a few parties. It is the time of the year, of course. You've got to make the most of these sorts of things. So, although
Yes,
plenty of
yes.
headaches after some Christmas parties, I'm sure that you were relatively pleased with your TGP career because there was a lot less headaches involved in that. I mean, you enjoyed many successes throughout the TGP series, including a very early title in TGP2. You had pole positions and race wins in TGP1. But before we come on to all of that, how was it that you came across us at the TGP series? Had you been competing in leagues before? Was this your first sort of foray into online racing, or had you been looking out for these sorts of things, or just come across one of us in a party, perhaps?
It was actually very weird. I have quite a substantial sort of period on Twitter. Well, as Twitter, it's now X. I was just scrolling through one day and I thought, I wonder what this is. So I got in touch with Dom through X, as it's now known, and yeah, we went from there. But no, this it had been my first sort of foray into league racing. I had done previously quite a bit of sort of just playing on the PlayStation, PS1, PS2, and yeah, obviously I do a lot of karting and stuff. So I thought, let's do some league racing online, and yeah, we got in contact with Dom. And yeah, that's how really I got started with TGP. It was around 2012, I want to say. So that's been what 10 years now. So yeah, it's been quite a long career so far.
And was it just TGP series that you'd taken part in? Well, I suppose not taken part in at that moment, or had you been sort of delving into online league racing prior to that, or was this your first sort of dalliance?
No, no, this was the first sort of exploration, if you like, into league racing. There was nothing before that, and I think it was just fate really that I came across TGP. And you know what? I'm really glad I did because, as you say, it's been quite a successful-ish career.
Well,
Um,
I mean, you sort of say that. I mean, you hit the ground running. Immediately fighting for a title in TGP2. On F1 2012, as you rightfully say. And I think your first season was the season that you won the title, if my memory serves me right. So that season four, you sort of came straight in, hit the ground running. What was it that you think set you up to be within the running for a title and race wins and everything else that goes with that so soon?
yeah, as you say, it was season four, and yeah, I'm not really sure why I was so competitive. I think really I'd been playing the game as we would say, sweating the game, but not in terms of for a for a league race, if you like. Um, so I think that's maybe what kind of helped me in that sense. Um, but that season it was really, really good for myself. I think my first win came that season in Sepang, Malaysia, which was one of my favourite tracks until a certain incident, but I'm sure we'll go on that later on. Um, but yeah, no, we had the likes of Cumin, Rob Noxious, Jacko. I don't think you were there as of yet,
No, not quite.
Mike. And there's a few others. Sorry if I missed you guys, but yeah, we had some really good fights with Rob Noxious, who I think was second in that Malaysia race, and Human, who again I had a really good title fight with. He was third, I think. But yeah, no, as you say, it was. I just hit the ground running. So I think I don't know, maybe 5 or 6 wins that season at the start, and then I had a dip, kind of mid-season, and then towards the end, it sort of picked back up again. But yeah, no, it was really a really good season, and kind of that set me up for TGP one then the following season, and yeah, and then obviously I'm now returning back to GDP two, so it's almost came full circle, if you like. So hopefully next step will be to win the championship again.
And do you look back fondly on your time battling with the likes of Human, etc., for the title early on? Is that something that you can really relish the fact that you were able to sort of take part in something like that?
Oh yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, competition is is key, really. I don't want to go out there and dominate things, you know. So it's although that would be nice. I'm not saying I wouldn't want to, but yeah, no. I look back and I think, you know what, those fights with Cumin, who was really my title rival in that season, we had some, fantastic battles, and yeah, no, I really do look forward. It's a shame that Cumin is no longer in TGP, but yeah, no, I can always look back and think, you know what, I I was a relative newcomer to that sort of foray, if you like, into league racing, and I gave it my all, and do you know what, I produced the goods of a championship. So I mean, that will be my probably most memorable moment from TGP is the fact that I was able to have such good battles, and it wasn't as serious as it is nowadays, with the esports and stuff. So it was just fun as well. I'm not saying it's not fun now, but it was just a sort of you don't have to put as much practice in, and yeah, it's really good. So yeah, I do
And
look
do you
quite
think that
fondly on that.
you mentioned it obviously just then, do you think that you are able or you will have the ability to be able to compete for these championships again?
Oh yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, towards the end of last season, the pace was picking up a little bit on TGP2. Um, I think my problem is at the moment, excuse the pun, but I can't get to grips with the game. So I do struggle with just the overall handling and stuff at the moment, just being out for so long. And the fact that I don't spend sort of hours on the game anymore, because let's be honest, I am getting on a little bit now. So not as old as Phil Barswell, but um, he's going to hate me for that. But yeah, no. Back to the point. Sorry, I went off topic there. So yeah, no, I do think I will get back to some sort of competitiveness. I don't think it'll be next season because that would be a huge step. But definitely think hmm, regular points finishes, which was a struggle last season. Maybe the odd sort of podium. I would hope. And yeah, so in my mind, yeah, I can do it. It's just obviously doing it, I guess, is producing results. But yeah, no, I can do it. I can do it for sure.
And I suppose that you already mentioned, of course, the time and the input it takes now to sort of really be able to compete at the sort of high end of racing in general, not just necessarily in TGP. But what can you see you being able to do to put yourself on a level playing field with those alike in TGP2? Because we've got some very good drivers competing in TGP2 these days. We just had Wace win the title most recently at the season ending a couple of weeks ago at time of recording. So, what is it that you think you need to do in order to get yourself to a point where you can compete? Is that just putting in the time, or can you just sort of find that form that you once had?
No, as you said, it's very competitive. Even the likes of Wace, yourself, I'll put yourself in that category. You've got obviously Lewis Craig, Jack Craig, even Jacko, for example. All you guys, these are really fast. So I think what I need to do is, put some more effort into the game. Really, I mean, I would just turn up to the nowadays. I just turn up to the game on the night and just, find a practice. Should I say sorry? Find a setup on TT and just turn up and race. Which obviously a lot of you guys now spend quite a bit of time practicing. So I really do think if I maybe spend a couple of hours on the game, a week, getting setups and stuff, finding what works, what doesn't, I think that's where I have to go in terms of trying to be competitive again. Um, and from next season, I definitely will start to put in more effort, and we'll see what comes of that. But I will be pushing more next season, that's for sure.
And so, taking a dive further back then into the past events, we talked about you're hitting the ground running in TGP2. Let's not forget that you then moved straight up to TGP1. And you won your first TGP1 race not only in season 12, not long after you joined, but it was also around Monaco of all places as well. Just how did that feel to sort of not only take your first race win, but a track like Monaco as well, where it is all down to how well you can get the car in the sweet spot to get the ultimate lap times, get the ultimate performance out of it. How did that feel for you, being able to do that straight away?
That's one memory I do look back on is winning at Monaco. Because it was so unexpected. If from what I can remember, the race either started wet or dry and finished in the opposite. So either dry to wet or wet to dry. Um, and I actually wasn't in a position to win that race until a late safety car came out, and it was at the time where it was at the crossover.
Mm.
So I went against the rest of the field and stayed out on a different tyre. But somebody else had crashed as well during that safety car. So I actually finished, if I'm correct, under the safety car. So as much as obviously the skill was there to be in that position, it was more luck as well. But you're just to win at Monaco, was just incredible. Especially as you say, it was my first TGP1 win. So yeah, it's very special, and I don't think I've actually won a race since then at Monaco. So, at least I've got one under my belt. And yeah, as you say, it was a very special place to win.
And obviously, you then had a very famous moment at Monaco back there a few years later, driving for Lotus. I think it will be long in the memories of many a driver in the TGP series with your Lotus roadblock incident. That was that just. I mean, you mentioned safety cars and conditions and wet dry and crossover points. Was that just another classic case there?
Do you that I'll never live that moment down at all. Um, I mean, I think it was with Wingsman was my teammate at Lotus at that time,
I think it
and
was. Yes.
from I'm sure I had front wing damage or something, meaning I couldn't turn the car at all. Got to the first corner, yeah, got to the first corner. I just couldn't turn, hit the wall, and unlucky for Wingsman, came around that corner, and as I was spinning, he had nowhere to go. And yeah, I just remember Andy going, Lotus roadblock, Lotus roadblock. Oh, And again, that was just a moment of wet madness, if you want to put it like that. Um, and yeah, I still watch back I think Dom posted something, TGP memorable moments on YouTube, I think it was, or Twitter or something. And yeah, I always remember watching that back and just laughing so hard at that because it just had to be me, didn't it? Of all
I
people,
think
it just had to.
it was going to be, wasn't it? It was just
Yeah,
one of those scenarios that you just sort of thought, well, yeah, this is a Paul McGinnes sort of moment that people are going to remember and talk about for a long time, and they have. And you're exactly right. You know, that sort of commentary from Andy has probably made it what it is. But at the same time, it was a chaotic race. And I think that was it was a good advert for TGP series as there was a lot going on. There was a lot of very clean, very fair driving, but there was just a lot of action, a lot of drama going on, wasn't there?
yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, I think it was just a classic Formula One TGP race. I mean, as you say, a lot of clean overtaking, great racing, some crashes, safety cars, rain. Yeah, if you were to put that into what a Formula One TGP race is, that would be an absolute classic. And it was an absolute classic.
Now, just jumping on a little bit further again, looking at now onto F1 2016, so this would have been in the PS4 era of TGP1. You had several seasons prior to that, sort of finishing mid-table at best in some instances. But then suddenly, form turned around, and you were able to pull up with a P3 in the championship in season 27. Where did that come from?
Yeah, I mean that game. I mean, I'm very sort of sensitive when it comes to changes in steering on games. And that game just really suited my style for some reason. I'm not sure why, but as you say, I mean that season was just incredible. I was way up the top, and if I remember correctly, I won in Germany in that season. I
Think
think,
so.
yeah, if that's the season we're talking about, which I think it is, that was. As I say, I'm not even sure where that came from, but it's some incredible races that season, and to be up there fighting regularly for podiums and wins, pole positions. I mean, that's what I would like to be doing every season because it's the feeling you get is just so special. Just turning up to races knowing can be competitive and knowing that you've got a great chance of finishing high up in the table. Um, and yeah, I mean, there was a lot of incredible battles that season. Because I think we had like the likes of Jack up there, Pearson, I'm sure. I think you were up there. Were you not in that season? Or were you?
Towards the top, I think I had my
Yeah,
moments.
yeah. I'm pretty sure you were there because I just,
Consistently inconsistent on my part, I think.
yeah, yeah, join the club nowadays anyway. But yeah, no, back to that season, it was just, I'm really, really glad that I could show that, despite not having the greatest of successes in the past, that you can never really rule me out as such because I'll always be there or thereabouts. And that's kind of what I'm trying to do now in terms of TGP is get myself back up there. But yeah, no, so bad. I keep going off track here, but yeah, that season was just incredible, and it's one of those moments where I look back on and I'm thinking, you know what, I did it then, so why can't I do it again?
And it was around that time that the ILR was obviously coming to the forefront, and a lot of drivers from TGP were starting to go over and race in that series as well. Do you think that the time sort of spent racing in ILR helped you and assisted you with your progress, I guess, as such in TGP? Do you think that had something to do with it too?
I mean, not necessarily as such, TGP's an absolutely brilliant league, with some incredible drivers, and you learn off those drivers just racing with them. And I actually feel that having ILR and TGP together really did help me at that time because there was more time spent on the game, more time practicing, more time battling with other drivers, different drivers with different, obviously, capability levels, different speeds, overall different driving styles, So I wouldn't say it was either joining one or joining the other. Just having both at the same time really did help me as such, and you know, it was it was a really good period to have both of those leagues running together.
Obviously, a
But yeah,
slightly different format as well, with that being 50% as opposed to TGP's 25%. Did you find that that gave you a little bit more confidence for the sort of sprint format that TGP is, because you could sort of you learned how to better look after the tyres, perhaps from racing a slightly longer distance?
yeah, you know what? That's a good point there. Just sort of adapting your driving style because you have to with such different formats. Obviously TGP's sprint, which I really do like, just the fact that it's just a sprint, go go go. Um, Whereas ILR was sort of like a conserve, manage, etc. So I do feel that did help me develop my driving style to better myself in TGP. So that probably did help me improve my performance in TGP as well.
And as ILR got a little bit more sort of larger, it got a little bit more sort of competitive as well. You had various degrees of sort of success within ILR, but then TGP sort of took a little bit more of a step back. Do you think that perhaps if you'd spread the time a little bit differently, you might have been a little bit more successful during that time in TGP one? Could you have taken a championship in TGP one, for example?
I mean, the speed was there. I mean, so probably if I'd have concentrated on TGP more, then I probably could have bettered myself and been. I mean, because I was, as you say, I was challenging for the likes of third places, etc. And I remember in TGP I was up there challenging for like Dan the Man, etc. So I do think that if I'd have spent more time practicing the sprint formats rather than the sort of long distance formats, no, I definitely do think I could have been up there in TGP, which I do regret a little bit because I would have loved to have won a title in TGP one. Is that's the league that gave me the start to all this. So it is a shame, and I do kind of regret that, if you like. But yeah, no. As I say, I mean, if I keep saying that, but yeah, for sure. If I'd have spent more time TGP, I would have won the title. I think definitely.
And obviously competing then with the likes of Softcop and many other driver who won titles in that period. Obviously, you gave them a good battle parts of the season, but again, just sort of stringing that whole season together, that you think you could have taken it to them.
I, I mean, Soft Gob is just he's not human with his speed. He's just not human. He just cannot be that fast. But fair play to him. But I mean, at times I did show, for example, I think it was Brazil. You were commentating on that, um, where I had Soft Cop and James O'Connor behind me for like the
Gosh,
entire
that's
race.
TGP royalty.
Oh yes, and I remember leading the race and having those two behind me. It was just the concentration needed to just not make the mistakes, keep pushing, and keep two of the most successful, I'm going to say, league racers behind you. That's just, yeah, I was sweating that race, I'm not going to lie. Sweating in places you didn't know you could sweat. Um, But yeah, no, if I could have, I think I could have possibly have challenged because there were times where Softcore was not as fast. It was more challengeable. Um, so yeah, I think it's just the timing of it just didn't work out really. But I do think, yeah, I could have challenged Softy and the likes of James and Dan for sure.
So that sort of sums up nicely the Formula One side of your competition within TGP. Let's move on to sort of another discipline that you did partake in within the series, but with, well, I hate to say it, much less success. You partook in TGP cars from seasons 3, 4, and 5, and then skipped to season 6, and then came back 7, 8, and 9, but always towards the back. Why was it that you weren't able to do better? Bluntly,
Hmm.
was it just not a discipline of racing that really suited you, or why do you think that was?
Yeah, no, so the sort of GT sort of side of racing is not something that I'd really been doing. So, I mean, I'd been racing the Formula One games right back from probably the late 90s, early noughties. So my sort of discipline was always used to single seater driving and the sort of that side of things rather than the GT side of things, which I found quite difficult to get used to just with the heaviness of the cars, the sort of the understeer nature, because the obviously GT cars are heavier, so they're going to understeer more, oversteer more, and it's just I could not just find that balance of getting something to work. I mean, some of the tracks as well I just wasn't familiar with. Obviously, racing the Formula One side more, so it was kind of racing without really knowing the games as such, knowing the tracks, knowing the cars, knowing the discipline, knowing how to set the cars up. So, I mean, there are some drivers that can differentiate between sort of that side and the Formula One side quite successfully. But for me, I just do find it difficult, and I still do. I mean, I've still got the GT Sport games. I do try and get quicker on it, but
Because did you
you
ever
know,
take part in TGP GT as well?
I don't
I don't think you
think
did you?
so. No, no, it's just the TGP car side of things and project cars. Um, so no, I definitely didn't do the G. I don't think so. Anyway, I mean, I
No,
do
I don't
have the
think so.
game, and I have played the game, but it's just something I just can't get my head around.
And do you think that with that in mind, should TGP sort of return to a maybe sort of GT car style league? Maybe that's Gran Turismo, maybe that's Project Cars, whatever it might be. Do you think you'd be interested in coming back to that, or do you anticipate you staying solely towards the single seater?
Good question. Good question. I mean, never say never. I mean, I am very competitive, so there is a part of me that's like, just do it, just get there, just get competitive, put the hours in. But the other side's like, I don't know if you will be competitive, so it's a sort of fight in my mind as to whether I would return. But I do think personally that the GT side of things should return to TGP because there is a sort of with this sort of esports thing, there is there is a market out there for that league sort of style. So I do think it should return, but maybe I wouldn't return to it if you like.
Hmm.
But never say never. I mean, I'm always out there to try more things, and who knows? Who knows if I might compete? Who knows? I might become competitive all of a sudden. It's happened on the F1 games, so why couldn't it happen on the GT side?
Can't rule these things out, can you? As you quite
No.
rightfully said, you can never say never. So it's a case of all these things coming together. And I guess that sort of leads me quite nicely on then to asking you, I suppose, vaguely similar to what I asked you earlier, but um, can you win another title in TGP?
The blunt answer, yes. Um, TGP2 is obviously where I'm at the moment, and I do anticipate staying there for some time. But yes, I can definitely win. I will. I have beaten the likes of Waste before, so I know I can do it. So yeah, no, I can win for sure.
So, taking a bit of a step away from, well, I guess sort of to a certain degree sim racing, but looking at you sort of away from the screen and more into sort of four wheels, generally speaking. Obviously, you've been quite successful with your karting, and such the like. Was that born from obviously your love of Formula One and esports, etc.? Did you always hope that you would get into a kart yourself?
To be honest, it wasn't something I did anticipate. I'd always been watching Formula One, as I say, from the late '90s, but it was actually my late uncle that took me to a karting circuit for one of my birthdays. I can't remember which one. Um, and I remember him saying, "Would you like to try that?" And I instantly said yes, um, because I think it was a team sport or something. I seen the carts jumping down the hill, and you thought, you know what, I really, really want to try that. And I did. I jumped in the cart, instantly got butterflies. You know yourself when you go on the track. Um, and from that moment, it's just been a love, a passion, an addiction. You can't help it. It's just something that's always in my head. When can I go? When can I go? And yeah, so the love started from there. And as you say, I've had quite a few successes, where the likes of I joined a karting series down the south of England called Club 73. Um, that races down in the southeast of England. So that was my sort of first championship, if you like. And I won a couple of races. Uh, Came first at Red Lodge. I got third at Red Lodge. I've won a few races, Milton Keynes, at Daytona. I've even been abroad actually to the Polish Indoor Karting Championship. So that was incredible as well.
And
Just the
so tell us a bit about that. How did you find out about that then?
So Poland, it was actually one of my friends was talking about it. They'd been previously, and it's something I thought, you know what, let's try that. I mean, you know, it's something that you're not going to do very often. So I got in contact with one of the organisers. I think his name is Bartosz. Excuse my pronunciation if you're watching. Um, and and he got me sorted with the payments and stuff. He sort of explained what it was. It was again a track at, excuse the pronunciation again, Szczecin, which is sort of on the Poland Germany border. Um, Silver Hotel karting centre or something, if I remember correctly, and that involves the basically quite a few of quite a few drivers from all around the world. From the UK, Germany, Holland, America, Hungary. It was kind of more Eastern sort of European, so like
Hmm.
Czechoslovakian and stuff like that. So they all got together, and it was a sort of run over 2 days where you'd be put into categories with a set number. So you were given a number, say 8. So you would look for your number for each group, and you would race with a different group of people each time, but sort of reverse grid. So there was one race I remember. Well, in fact, we'll skip that for now. My first race actually, I wasn't expecting to do well, but I qualified sort of midfield, which was quite a shock, really, considering all these very fast Europeans. And I think I finished towards the back, but they were so fast, and I was not at all disappointed in that. And we'll move on to that sort of reverse grid I was talking about. I do remember starting on pole position with these. Just think of it as like 20 Max Verstappen's behind you, right? And you're on pole position, and it was just a constant looking over your shoulder, the sort of the Paul McGinnes train that we all know from TGP. Yeah, just no
Think of
one
that,
could get.
but
Yeah,
in indoors in Poland.
yes, with a track like Monaco. So yeah, it was chaotic, and I did get punterinoed a couple of times. Um, but yeah, no, the experience of that series was incredible, and it's something that I'll never take away because I've got the memento actually on my trophy cabinet. It was 2016 I did that, so that's 7 years ago. Wow. But that's an experience that I never thought I'd partake in, but it's one that I'll never forget. So yeah, that was a really good thing to take part in.
And do you think you're going to be able to take part in something like that again? How do you think that that's going to sort of go from now? Do you think that that sort of series is where you want to keep racing in, or are you looking for something slightly different, a bit more of the sort of Club 73 sort of vibe?
Yeah, well, I do plan to start restarting Club 73 in 2024. Um, but as well as that, I want to take part in the British Indoor Karting Championship, which I think takes place in a January. So that probably won't be 24, but 25. And even maybe Club 100. If I can get some funds up for that, then that would be something that I'd love to take part in as well. Because again, it's different people and different skill levels and such. So
Very good race series.
it's, yeah, exactly. It's really good. I do know people that race there. So and I know they race at sort of Butmore Park and stuff, which is one of my favourite tracks. So yeah, I would want to partake in that as well. So it's at least three championships or series that I want to take part in. So it's just the planning and stuff. Obviously living in Scotland and most of it happening down south. So it's just sort of planning out sort of how I'm going to go about things. And so yeah, I do planning quite. Yeah, there's a lot on the cards. That's for sure.
And so, where do you think you'd come in a TGP karting race?
Ooh, oh no. Don't put me there, Mike. Don't put me there. Um, I mean, well, I mean, you and I'd probably have quite a good battle.
I think so.
Yeah, that would be good.
I
And,
reckon we'd have Isaac up there as well, wouldn't we? The three of us.
oh, yes, yes, for sure. I actually forgot about him. Um, but you can. I mean, it'd be good to race the likes of Dom and stuff. And Jack Pearson and Softy and you know everyone. There's so many TGP legends that I would love to not just race but meet as well. Obviously, yourself as well. Don't get flattered. Um, but, but yeah, you're all a good bunch of people. So yeah, I mean, I would say definitely a top three in a karting race. Definitely, all the gear, no idea.
Surely not. Surely not. You'd give a good run. And I guess moving away, sort of entirely from racing virtually or in the flesh, you've become a bit of a cultural icon on F1 Twitter in the last few years with your content that has been posting, which has attracted many interactions and a lot of following. Do you enjoy sort of scouting out and finding some of these old classic Formula One clips of bygone times that most of us might have forgotten? Is that something you have a real sort of enjoyment towards?
Oh yeah, no, I love it, especially that sort of, I want to say, sort of mid noughties, early to mid noughties era of Formula One was just incredible. You know, you had the likes of Michael Schumacher, Montoya, Mika Hakkinen, Kimi Raikkonen, obviously Alonso, who's still racing now, incredibly. Um, but yeah, no, it's one of my passions just to look back and sort of some of the clips that I have saved and just rewatch them and share them because, as you say, some newer viewers won't have any idea about the likes of that and just the noise and stuff as well, which I just can never get enough of. I did have the sort of pleasure of going to a Formula One race, the V10 era. So it's just something that I'll always have a passion for, and I'm glad that people like the stuff that I'm sharing as well. It's strange when you get the likes of Heinz Harald Frentzen liking stuff that you've posted, and because let's be honest, he's a legend of not just the meme world, but a legend of Formula One as well. So, um, yeah, no, I'm really glad that people like, and I know we're recording today, and today's the sort of 10th anniversary of Michael Schumacher's accident. So
Yeah, it's a big day.
I'm actually, yeah, exactly. And obviously today, as I say, we're recording on that date. So I am posting a lot of sort of Michael Schumacher clips today of that era. And it's sort of already a lot of people are liking it and sort of reposting it and stuff. So I'm glad, I'm glad that people like it. And yeah, let's hope I can find more clips to post and I don't run out anytime soon.
Well, Paul, this nearly brings us to the end of our chat, and I wish we could sort of keep going for a while, but um, we've got I think we've covered the sort of the bulk of what we've got and your achievements within the TGP series. But I'd like to finish off as we do with these with a few quick fire questions, if I may.
Hmm.
Um, so we'll go through that now. So first things first, favorite track to race at any game?
Interlagos,
Least favorite track to race at any game?
Monaco.
You've won there.
Yeah, I know, but I don't like it. It was a fluke. Let's
Okay,
be honest.
okay. Well, it's the Lotus roadblock haunts you clearly. Yeah, that
Oh,
must be what it is.
yes. Yep, yep.
Um, who's your favourite person to race against?
Ooh. Uh, James O'Connor.
Very good. And least favourite person to race against?
Oh, ouch.
People love answering this question.
H Pro, actually.
Oh, remember him? That's a blast from the
H,
past.
yep, H Pro was just shocking.
We'll move on for that quickly. We could be here for another hour. Is there what game would you like to see TGP host a league on?
Ooh. Do you know what? This, hmm, we could do a sort of, I mean, I know Joe did this in the past, but sort of a Grand Theft Auto make your own track championship.
Oh, that was top tier, those races. They were great
Yeah.
fun.
Do you know, I know John, I know Joe even done that before, so that would be great as an official TGP championship.
Well, Gran Turismo, not Gran Turismo, GTA 6, who knows? Maybe
Mm.
we could have a TGP GTA sort of championship going on.
Mm. There you go.
Watch this space. Watch this space. And last but not least, we touched on it very briefly when we talked about your sort of karting escapades, but I think it would be appropriate to ask you this question. If TGP were to host a TGP karting event, which track would you like it to take place at?
Daytona Milton Keynes.
Okay,
It's a good track.
it is a good track. Good suggestion. Good suggestion.
Hmm.
Well, Paul, it's been a pleasure and an honour. having you join me. Thank you very much once again. And we're going to be seeing you back racing in TGP very soon, are we?
Yeah, no, absolutely. Back in TGP next season, so let's do it and see how we get on.
Very good. Well, Paul, once again, thank you very much for joining me. This is going to sound very weird when this comes out in February, but have a very good new year. And, well, we look forward to seeing you on track very soon.
You too, Mike. Thank you very much, and see you soon.
So there we have it. Another mainstay of the TGP series has come and gone on our podcast, and has it been really interesting to hear what Paul has to say and just how much time and effort he was able to give the series in the first few instances, which is what led him to becoming the champion he did. Will he become a champion again? Well, you'll have to tune into TGP 1 coming up soon in order to find that out. Next week, we chat to another TGP original, but this one actually competed in the first series of TGP1 all the way back on F1 2010. He has a lot of very interesting stories to talk about, so we look forward to seeing you next week for a chance to chat with Knievel.